Welcome to Being Athletic in Perimenopause and Beyond. My name is Daniela Steyn, and I am integrated health and sport performance coach. And my whole goal, my mission is to inspire women in midlife to embody excellence in sport, health, and life. And I partner with recreational and elite athletes to play to their best in the sports of triathlon, cycling, and running. And today I am so thrilled to be in conversation with Dr. Daniela Steyn. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join you. It's incredible work that you're doing. I'm so happy about that, and I feel very privileged to be interviewed. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. And we are so excited to dive in, but I do want to let everybody know just a little bit more about you and how you have, like, why I was so excited to get to find you and to know you a little bit. So you are a double board certified physician. You are a practicing family physician here in Canada. You are an American board certified in lifestyle medicine. You work at the hospital as well. You are an associate professor. You're a speaker. You're an educator. You're a triathlete. And a very, out there in the world practicing health advocate. So this is just the beginning, people. You are on a mission to inspire and enable a whole generation to live their best possible life with optimal health. And you're using food as medicine to support longevity, energy, mental clarity, happiness, well-being. You prevent disease through healthy lifestyle choices. You love exercise. You love movement. You are the founder and director of this incredible health clinic, Wellness MD Health Clinic, which is in Canada and in Ontario, and an education academy, which we all can benefit from no matter where we live in the world. And you have written a book. It's called Thrive Through Menopause, and I love it. It's a real holistic, whole body approach. And where your experience has come from is not only your own experience from what we understand and what we're going to get to know today, but also through working with patients. I don't even know how long you've been working with the patients, but for a long time, which is informing how you've been moving forward. Is there anything I'm missing? Just a little snapshot?
I think the last thing why I'm also then passionate about triathlon is because I'm a triathlon athlete myself. I competed 2 years alone for the Canadian World Championships, or for Canada at the International Triathlon World Championship. So I feel that I really have a very, very good understanding about triathlon. And then I had the incredible opportunity to work with a lot of triathlon athletes. So it's not just my own personal experience, it's really much wider. It's working with hundreds of patients or clients who are triathlon athletes and really journeying with them through their journey, how certain things might work perfectly well. Because I've been a triathlon athlete since my 20s when I was in med school. And there are certain things that work. It's so easy in your 20s where you can not exercise for a long time and then just jump up and do a race without training and do well. And then when you get older, when you get to your 40s, it's not a smart thing to do anymore. You need to be more gentle on your body and to nourish your body better and to respect your body, to understand your body, to listen to your body. So there's a whole shift from your 20s to your 40s to menopause, perimenopause. Lots of barriers. I talk in my book about that. Women, when I did world championships, who would suddenly start leaking urine, never leaked urine their whole life, and now while they're training for a race, now suddenly leak urine. What do? You can't be doing a triathlon with a pad. It was so easy to tell other patients, oh, if you leak urine, just use a menstrual pad. But you can't be doing triathlon going into a swim with a pad, right? That will soak like a big diaper.
That would be so uncomfortable.
So there's a lot of things that do change during your perimenopausal years, but it's also an incredible time. If you now look at Canadian registrants, most people are in their midlife when they do enter maybe triathlon for the first time. Because this is the time when you become more mature, more wise, and you want to test your limits. So Absolutely. It's such an incredible time, yes, to go into.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is definitely, there's two parts to what we're going to discuss today. So it's we want to get into some of what you've talked about already and hinted at some of the where the direction we're going is, let's think about some nutrition. Like, why is some of those challenges as a triathlete or an endurance athlete? We can expand it out. But then we also are going to get into the second part of this interview into burnout. And because that's another real specialty that you have. And I will dive into some of the deeper thinking around that and your adrenals and cortisol and the Dutch test. And so lots that's going to happen in this interview. So let's narrow it into some of the questions that I have specifically as you experienced how you're in your experience and guiding people into the sport of triathlon, specifically females, obviously. So this is something I hear, and I know you address it in your course. That is, okay, so they're so excited. They are working hard. They're training more. They're being like, okay, I'm going to do a sprint triathlon, and they're doing the swim, they're doing the bike, they're doing the run, and they have an expectation that it's like all this work and I'm going to start losing weight. Isn't it just the best thing ever? And then it goes opposite and they're not losing weight. And they're just like, how is this actually working? I've never been so active in my life. And here I am. And why? What makes it so difficult to either manage or maintain? Because sometimes they're gaining and it's midlife. So they're gaining anyway. Like, how does this all work when we're so active? And what would you say some of the nutritional or some of the activity-based things that you want people to think about?
Okay, that's a very big topic.
I know.
We can talk about this for hours, but to break it down, specifically regarding cortisol, when you are stressed out, your body goes into a flight or fight response. So for some people, and so cortisol is your stress hormone. Your body either makes stress hormones or sex hormones. That is why at times when you're stressed out, you're not going to feel like having sex. That is why women struggle with fertility who are very stressed out, because your body will either make those fertility hormones. It's the same precursor in your body, and it goes two ways. It either makes estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, or it makes cortisol. So when we test people and we look at very high cortisol levels, cortisol really drives that whole stress response, drives weight gain around the abdomen. So for people who come to me, we have a very big weight loss clinic. When people come to me for weight loss, I quite often tell them to stop doing this intense exercise and to sleep better. And that's quite often just by sleeping better, meditating, relaxing, overturning that stress response. People start losing weight by eating exactly the same, just being less stressed out. It's less easy to be less stressed out for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it would be other stressors in life, quite often career-wise. These are often people that I work with, people who are type A personality, who are very driven in their career, who has a lot of stress in their career. And now part of their type A personality would be these people who really push themselves, do endurance running, endurance training, and that add an extra stressor. So no two people are the same. You know, some people might listen to this, you might have a very relaxed life. You might not have stress at work. For you, working out, doing endurance training, if that's what you're doing full time, might be the best thing ever, because the rest of the day you're going to maybe run for 2 hours in the morning. But then you're going to go home, you're going to rest, you're going to have an afternoon nap, you're going to get 9 hours solid sleep.
That's brilliant. Come on, I want that life.
Then endurance training might be a good thing for you. For someone else, where your body feel like you are in a war situation because you constantly have stressors. You look at social media, you look at the news, you then maybe do calorie restriction because you're trying to lose weight. Then your body thinks you're in a famine situation as well. Then your body secretes more stress hormones, more cortisol. And then because your body thinks that you're in a war situation, a stress situation, a famine situation, your body holds on to all the fat that you have. And in effect, your metabolism just slows down. Dr. Trevor Fung is a Canadian physician who does quite a lot of work on intermittent fasting. and the benefit of intermittent fasting for diabetes. He talks about it quite a bit on when people do more exercise and they eat less, it just slows down their metabolism.
Mhm.
So for most of us to lose weight, it doesn't really help to just exercise more, because our metabolism will just slow and our body will become very smart on how to not use your fat stores. So a triathlon athlete who exercises every day does the same amount of exercise as someone who's not used to doing exercise. The person who's not used to exercise will maybe burn 900 calories, whereas with the same exercise, a triathlon or endurance athlete might only burn 200 calories because their body has adapted. So then it goes to the next step. So how do we compensate for that? So people do very well when they manage their cortisol level in such a way that they do other alternative things like optimizing their sleep, doing meditation, not only focusing on endurance stressors to the body, but to do other things like a lot of strength training or Pilates in order to not stress their body as much. So that is quite big to understand. I sometimes have people who I work with who I would recommend, just at this point, while your cortisol is high, while you are stressed at work, how about you don't register for an Ironman race this year? You only register for an Olympic distance, which is not too hard on your body. And then at a point when you've gone through this difficult patch at work, or you've gone through this difficult divorce or something else that's very difficult, then you can focus on longer distances again. So it's really listening to your body. The other thing you ask about is how to eat for that. So I read a book 15 years ago called Wheat Belly that was written. Have you read the book?
Yeah, I absolutely know about it. Yeah.
Yes. So this was written, I believe, by a cardiologist whose wife was a triathlon athlete, and it got him into triathlon training. And then he was so surprised to find that everyone who does these triathlons would be carry quite a lot of weight and fat around their abdomen. And he really delved into the research. Why does these athletes who work out so hard and burn so many calories, they do everything right, why do they have fat around their abdomen? And he delves really into the research showing that our wheat in North America has been genetically modified to such a degree that it actually causes inflammation. That inflammation drives cortisol. It really causes people to gain fat around their abdomen. So that is something that worked for a lot of people, to just stop eating wheat. Mm-hmm. And I'm South African. I immigrated to Canada in 2010, and I noticed the difference that it made in my life. The wheat that we were used to in South Africa, and even the dairy, was significantly different from the wheat here. It was less processed. We just went to Cuba on holidays. And when you eat bread in Cuba, so because of sanctions against North America, Cuba doesn't have all the processed, they don't have access to the processed food that we have. So if you eat a slice of bread in Cuba, you're full for the rest of the day. You can have a slice of bread for breakfast. And it's so high in fiber, so high in protein, it feels almost like a steak that you're eating, and then you're full for the rest of the day. Whereas if I eat a slice of bread here, the bread will just cause high sugar release. The sugar release will trigger insulin release in my body, and the insulin release will cause abdominal gain. So that's what causes insulin resistance in the long run. And it's that insulin spike that also causes abdominal fat. So that is the easiest for people who don't want to dive into research, who just want to lose some fat around their abdomen, would be to stop eating bagels, stop eating donuts, pizza, muffins. That's usually the easiest way if they cut back on wheat. That I see it with all my patients. Some people really want to delve into do food testing, do hormone testing. We do it for them. Some people don't want to invest that much. They just want to lose belly fat. then if we recommend just for 1 month, stop eating all wheat and redo their weight abdominal circumference a month later, would have lost an inch or two, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing. When they stop eating bread, stop eating bagels, that belly fat, that's like an easy way to get rid of belly fat.
Really interesting. There's one point that I want to come back to. I mean, there's a lot of points that I'm going to come back to, but one of the things that you mentioned is that somebody that is, let's say off the couch or coming back into sport, versus somebody who has been doing sport for a while, or running or biking or whatever, and the difference in energy expenditure, because that's what you're really talking about, and why it is. And you mentioned 900 calories, you might be burning this much energy versus a different, if you were just coming off the couch, it might be 900, and then versus the 200 for somebody who is adapted to it. And I think that this is one of the points that I want to come back to, and maybe have you speak to a little bit more clearly, or more in depth, I should say, because this is where we get into this fuel for your activities. And when we start thinking about nutrition and why it is that you're doing all this work and not, and your body composition isn't shifting in the way that you thought doing all this work would happen, it's often because we get to these, you're going to do 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrate per hour, or 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour. And then we get into also the thinking, you want to be able to adapt to the training. So for the race that you're going to be doing, you're wanting to be able to adapt, train the gut is, what we've here as athletes as well. You want to train your gut to be able to handle the fuel sources. Could you speak a little bit more to that point specifically, and some of the thinking that you have around that?
So there's different things. The fact that your body adapts is amazing, good for your body. The next one that you're saying, to eat in such a way that you don't have tummy trouble. So I have a wellness clinic. Most people who come to my clinic are very, very healthy. These are the people who do not want to use sports gels, who are eating organic, who are doing everything good and right, majority. So, but I've actually learned, and I talk more about that in my online triathlon course, but I kind of learned that it is better to do 95% organic, healthy, fuel yourself with whole foods, and then specifically for race day, avoid, rather than having mangoes and maple syrup, rather on those days do more processed sugars that's more easily absorbable, just because too much fiber for the majority of athletes will cause you to have diarrhea. So that is kind of in reality what we see. So even if you want to do everything organic and natural on race day itself, your body might not be able to get as much sugar from mangoes without causing diarrhea. So on race day, you might want to use energy gels. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. If 95% of the time you eat all whole foods, everything else healthy, then it's okay to 5% of the time use some gels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I guess I'll add on to that point is that really understanding what is the intention of the training that you're doing, and fuel for that intention. So if you are doing a long ride, you are not going to be burning as many calories as you might be doing in your high intensity exercise. So understanding that push and the pull between what we're actually doing in terms of loading for the activity itself. It doesn't always have to be a blanket statement like you want to have X. And if we can get even more specific as we start to train, you think about, okay, well, what are the course demands? If you're doing, I have an athlete, a couple of athletes that are going to be preparing for the next challenge Roth, like it's going to be hilly, like, or the world championships, like there's some serious hills, coming up. And so how do you understand how to fuel for the course as well? And to really understand that energy is a push, like you burn more the faster you go there, and you become adapted as well for the speed that you're doing. So
So this is quite good about Strava. If any of the people watching ever use Strava, it kind of shows, not Strava, I mean, what is that bike app
yeah,
that you use? It shows the pizza slices. Um,
Training Peaks,
Say again?
Training Peaks.
No, there's this indoor, I use this app on my computer, on my indoor trainer when I train on my bike.
Okay.
And then it shows when you do a workout how many pizza slices you used.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And that was so cool for me to see that for the first time, because I would think after I've done a proper spin workout for an hour, I would think that I used up at least a pizza full of calories. But then it shows, oh, good job, you burned down like one slice of pizza. So for me personally, I thought, oh, this was quite interesting to see that. First of all, we don't burn as much. You might run on the treadmill for half an hour and burn the amount of calories of an apple. So I think that is helpful to kind of have that knowledge that we don't burn as many calories as we think, first of all. Then second of all, when I work with people, I always ask why they're doing things. If you're running marathons to lose weight, I would say, no, that's not the way we lose weight. We lose weight by what we eat. So if you've gone into training and endurance to burn fat, to lose weight, I would really have a discussion and look at someone's goals and their why, because I'm very passionate about sports, but I do believe you should do that sport for the passion of the sport and not the goal with weight loss. If your goal is weight loss, then you should eat in a way to lose weight. If you are going to do a sport and then undernourish your body with the goal to lose weight, what's going to happen is your body is going to withdraw vitamins and minerals, nutrients from your bones, from your muscles, because you're now undernourished doing this intense exercise. And then for years and years, your body will just do what it can, get everything from your bones. And then this is why you often see maybe sports people that you follow, that you're a big fan of, would get these stress injuries like hip fracture, or it's because they've malnourished themselves for 5 years, 10 years. And we quite often see athletes and we think they look like an athlete, but they're really just malnourished. And then when they hit 40 years old,
Yeah.
they get stress fractures. And it's so sad. These are the type of osteoporotic fractures that other people only get at 80, but because they've been malnourishing themselves, not nourishing for their exercise, to be at a lower weight, they really did harm and damage to their bodies. So yes, so I think it's so important to have a chat with yourself and think, why am I exercising? What are my goals? If your goals are to lose weight, rather see a nutritionist. And that's what we spoke about, wheat belly. See which foods can you avoid that are not nourishing your body, because that bagel is really not nourishing your body. Maybe you'll get more nourishment by having veggies, proteins, fruits. Eat in a way to nourish your body, eat in a way to lose weight. And then when you do exercise, you do it for the joy of it. You do it for the health benefits. To find an exercise that you enjoy, you're not punishing your body. You want to enjoy whatever sport you choose. And then you nourish your body to that sport. I think that's key.
I think it's such a brilliant a point. And I do think it is difficult to, especially at this point in time for many women in midlife too, because they're dealing with, and let's talk about this a little bit now. It's this, I have symptoms of perimenopause. I'm working hard, potentially even when we think about overtraining, I want to just point to the fact that sometimes it may not be I'm doing a ton of training, but I'm not nourishing for that training. That will provide the overtraining effect as well.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yes.
there, it's not an amount necessarily. It's how we are taking on the stress of exercise, coupled with our nutrition. Or it is also, like you had mentioned earlier in this interview, is like all the other stressors taking care of my kids, or I'm taking care of elders, I'm taking care of a really demanding career because we're type A, like whatever those things might be. And how do we, I guess where I'm going with this is like thinking about all of these pieces together, and really pointing to what you just said is, what is your goal and how are we going to prioritize those different pieces?
So what's easy for me, most women who come in, so at our wellness clinic, we do concierge medicine as well. So it's usually more people who don't want to sit and wait in lines, maybe CEO of a company. So these are usually women who are very driven and who would be telling me that they're going to the gym every morning, 5 o'clock for an hour and a half. That's what they do. So it's quite easy. First thing I do is to say to limit your intense exercise to 75 minutes a week.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are familiar with Orange Theory, at Orange Theory, you'll do an hour workout and then you'll be in your green zone, your yellow zone, and they only want you to be in that intense zone for 12 minutes of your workout. So I don't want everyone to stop working out. I'm just talking about that kind of orange zone where you're intense. So to not have more than 75 minutes intense a week. That is, it doesn't mean you can't go on long runs. We don't do our long runs in intense.
Right.
So just kind of become more aware of what you're doing. Matt Fitzgerald talks in his book, The 80-20 Rule, about that as well. So to really be doing 80% in your less stressed out zone and only 20% or max at 75 minutes in your high zone. That's the one thing. The other thing is, if you do want to increase your metabolism, there's this very interesting study that showed now that to do that, it's almost like doing track workouts, where you run 200 meters full speed and then 600 meters slow, and 200. That would often put our body in that state where you maximum stimulating your heart, but not too hard on your body, where you get that increased heart rate variability, reduced fast, slow. Okay. So to get back, what I do with people, I first tell them to limit their intense exercise to 75 minutes a week. Then I tell them to make sure that they get 10,000 steps a day. So this doesn't have to be exercise, because what a lot of people do is they would sit in front of their computer for 12 hours and then go and work out for 2 hours. So rather than doing that, make sure you go for a walk first thing in the morning, not exercise, just a walk, just that little bit of wellness somewhere in between the trees. So to make sure they get enough steps. If you are used to spinning 6 days a week and you're now just going to spin 2 or 3 days a week, what you can do during the other training sessions would be strength training. And then strength training or stretching or Pilates, that will make your body stronger, that will build muscle without stressing your adrenals out, without causing adrenal fatigue.
Beautiful. Love it. I love the idea that you're also giving that additional goal of the 10,000 steps, because that movement is so healing and nourishing in our body. And we forget that movement is actually recovery as well. I think that we think that, oh, I just didn't stop, but yet we can reshift our brains to think that this is actually the recovery, because the blood is flowing, it's bringing the nourishment to our body, and it's part of the holistic approach of the day and the activity.
And that helps people with high cortisol levels. So the first thing to get your cortisol levels down, to get your stress hormones down, would be to stimulate your parasympathetic system. So when you are stressed out, your sympathetic nervous system is stressed, your adrenaline goes up, your cortisol goes up. The way that you counter that is by stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. And we do that by deep breathing exercises, by meditation, by having a bath. And for people who can't meditate, don't want to do yoga, walking is a very good alternative. Just without your earpods, to just walk and focus on your breathing. I call that walking meditation. So I try to teach meditation to everyone who comes through the doors, and some people are just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Then your next step is a walking meditation, where you just look at the trees and focus on your breathing. And that's easier to do. So you don't see it as exercise, you
Yeah.
see it as relaxation.
Yeah, it's perfect. So let's dive into, because I definitely want to talk about the burnout and how do we understand the difference between burnout and fatigue and burnout and perimenopause and how they can all become twisted and intertwined into one another.
Uh, so I first got introduced to burnout. Well, I went through burnout myself after I had kids. And I tried to figure that out for myself. The term burnout wasn't 15 years ago, wasn't really a term used as easily. So I tried to read up on it. I tried to look for help. I contacted the Alberta Medical Association. I worked in Alberta at the time. And then they would ask, are you depressed? And I went through all the questionnaires and I would see that I'm not depressed. I didn't meet any of the features of being depressed. I was just delivering babies at night. I had my own 2 babies. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I didn't really understand the whole lifestyle medicine, how important it is to nourish your body, how important it is to sleep. I really grew up in a culture with parents who really saw sleeping as laziness, who would get up early in the morning, who would work till late at night, who very valued work ethic rather than sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of had to journey through that myself to really understand. Then I did more training in functional medicine. I did more training in integrative medicine. And then I started just what I learned I offered this to other physicians, other healthcare providers. I do a lot of teaching at our hospital on burnout in healthcare providers. And then so the more I got to understand about that is that burnout happens on a continuum. It's not either you burned out or not. Same as depression, same as anything else, right? It's on a spectrum. Here would be severely burned out, where you cannot get up in the morning, first thing in the morning, and you would be restored and refreshed, and you're ready to handle life.
Mm-hmm.
And so what often happens with burnout is our bodies, we live in an age where we don't switch off. If I just compare in medicine, when I graduated in 2006, we used to have paper charts. You would go home and you would have set times when you are off. Now I practice in a way where I have on my phone, all my patient results come through on an app on my phone. They have access to me on their phones. People ask questions 24/7. I answer 24/7. So we work in an era where our bodies don't have those set times where we switch off. So what that means is stress is good. It's good for anyone. Our bodies are adapted to stress, but not to chronic stress. There's a very good book on that, Why the Zebra Lost Its Stripes, or something like that, I think, but where it just talks about like how a zebra can run away from a lion and then just turn around and graze on grass, right? So it's okay. It's okay for us to, stress is not necessarily bad, but it is bad if you have it continuously. So your body has everything to cope with stress, but your body does need periods where it needs to switch off, periods where you have to disconnect from work, from social media, from exercise. You do need that day a week to not exercise. You do need it. Everyone does need it. Times for your body to rest, sometimes for your mind to rest. So if you're watching the news, your body can't always distinguish whether the war you're reading about is in Ukraine or whether it's an actual threat to your life. So the whole time your body would secrete adrenaline, cortisol. If you don't go through phases where you completely relax, then your body gets adrenal fatigue. What that means is that when the next stressor comes, your body won't necessarily have the capacity to deal with it in a healthy way. That is when people will notice that they don't have the energy to do things. They don't feel like going out with friends. They don't feel like meeting up with friends. They don't feel like going with their kids on a bike ride. They don't feel like running with their kids on the beach. which is quite devastating, because if you think about that, your kids or your spouse would be the most important people in your life, but you get to a point where you don't have the energy to invest into them. And that is usually a sign of burnout, where you just don't enjoy things the way you used to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Or what next happen often is people will have a very hard time sleeping. Their body would not be able to shut down because you don't go through your normal response. Like, your body is supposed to secrete a lot of cortisol during the day to give you energy, and then at night it should secrete minimally. But people then go to a next phase where their body can't secrete cortisol anymore because it's kind of exhausted your adrenal glands. Then to compensate, it secretes adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine to give you that energy. Your body doesn't metabolize it the same way. That keeps you up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when people will feel that they're exhausted in the day, but they can't sleep well at night.
So that's really interesting. So let me just rephrase that. So what's happened is that the chronic stress, the chronic cortisol levels become to this, so it's like this hum is, yes. it's just like, and you don't have the variability to respond to the bringing the up of the cortisol and then the coming down. And so what happens when that level of cortisol has just come into that steady line without variability is that your epinephrine and norepinephrine are trying to drive the energy. So you're utilizing that. And I know I'm totally repeating you, but I'm trying to really grab onto it. So what the difficulty is that it doesn't metabolize in the same way. And that is what's occurring when we have that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock wake up, in some circumstances. Others, it could be sleep apnea. I'm not saying in all circumstances this is what's occurring, but have I summarized that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty important to recognize as a physiological response. Like one of the things I ask about or I think about is like, how do we know? What is our body saying? What are the symptoms? And that is something that's coming out. Before, because I know we have a time frame that we're trying to keep to. What other testing, like we talked about a little bit of the Dutch testing there. Tell me about what we can learn about, like you are one of the few medical providers, double board certified, that say, okay, there is this tool that we can use. And I'd love to know how it is why you use it, and what it is that we're gaining from an information standpoint from the Dutch test.
Okay, so before we get to Dutch test, I'm a hormonal health expert. I wrote the book Thrive Through Menopause. In that book, you will see I wrote that you don't have to do hormonal testing. If you're on the perimenopausal years, you want to use estrogen to prevent osteoporosis, for brain fog, to help you think more clearly, concentrate better, be good for your skin, get your energy back, help for hot flushes, help for your mood. You can do that even though your estrogen levels are normal. So our guidelines are not to do testing for hormones, for hormone replacement therapy. If you had a chat with your doctor, you believe that your benefits will outweigh your risks of going on hormone replacement therapy, then go for it. You don't have to test. Our Canadian guidelines say that you do not have to test. Some women will have very low levels of estrogen. They won't have symptoms, and then they don't have to have hormone replacement. Some women will have normal levels, say with significant hot flushes or significant symptoms, then they can have treatment. So we don't treat hormone levels, we treat people and we treat symptoms. But then the next step, so that's your basic guideline. If you want to see your doctor, you don't have to do any more testing, you can just see your doctor. If you do not want hormones, that's really why I wrote the book, is really to delve into all the other strategies. Say you say, I don't want hormones, but I have hot flushes. What can I do for this? I have vaginal dryness. What can I do for this? I leak urine. I'm anxious. I have palpitations. I have itchy skin. I have a burning tongue. I developed allergies, all these things that we get in the perimenopausal years. So to go back to what menopause really is menopause is after you had your last period, a year after, we'll say you're now menopausal. It's really just a day that we say now is menopause, 1 day after your last period. The reason we don't use your last period but 1 year after is for most women, as they go through menopause, their period becomes more irregular. They might have it more, bleed a lot more. They might be bleeding less. So we don't really know when you're going to stop. It might go on for 6 months. It might go on for 10 years where your period is irregular. You only know that you're in menopause 1 year after your last period. But then your hormonal changes, and that your median age is at about 51. 10 years before, 10 years after is normal. So it's normal to go through menopause any year, any time from 40 to 60 to have your last period. But then for the 10 years around it, you will have perimenopausal symptoms where your estrogen levels will drop a little bit, but you still have a lot of estrogen receptors. So your body goes like, oh, where's the estrogen? Where's the estrogen? That's why we don't have these symptoms at 80 years old, because you have down regulation of your estrogen receptors. So your body is more used to having less estrogen, there's less receptors, it's less calling out for estrogen. So you don't have as significant symptoms as you would during the perimenopausal years, where you still have a lot of receptors, but there's just not enough estrogen for what you need. Okay. So, and what I'll do is, for everyone watching this, we'll give you a code to access my Menopause 101 course online for free. Just because we don't have time to delve deeper into this, I really want everyone to look at this, and I touch base on all the basics: sleep, sex, exercise in menopause. What is menopause, how to recognize it, and what you can do to really thrive through menopause. You don't have to gain weight. You can still have a great sex life. You can still have a lot of energy when you go through menopause. And I'll touch on that in the Meno 101 course. So we'll give you a coupon code to access that for free. Okay. But then to step back to the testing. So the testing is bigger than menopause. Testing, one of the tests, there's many different tests, many different ones, and you'll talk to your healthcare provider. The Dutch test that you mentioned, Dutch stand for dried urine testing of cortisol and hormones. What is good about that specific test is it looks at how your body metabolizes different hormones. So your body will metabolize estrogen different at 60 than it metabolizes it at 50, at 40 it will metabolize it different than your neighbor. Everyone metabolizes hormones different. So it looks at the breakdown in your urine on how your body metabolized it. Quite often it is really helpful for people to really get to the root cause of their symptoms. So I have a lifestyle medicine clinic. When people walk into my clinic, I tell them, exercise more, sleep better, eat better. Those are this, and then avoid toxins, get good relaxation, and get good social connections. Those are our 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Everyone has to follow that. You will get better if you follow that. But then some people will come back to me and say, I'm doing all the basics. I am eating healthy. I am going to bed every night, 9 o'clock. I am volunteering in my community and really investing in my social connections. I am doing everything right, but something is still off. I don't have energy. I feel fatigued all day. And that is when it's quite often helpful to do this Dutch testing. And then we can pinpoint to certain things. We can maybe see your melatonin. You don't have enough melatonin. Mm-hmm. People quite often ask me, should they take melatonin for a supplement to help them sleep at night? And I don't know. In the hospital where I work, we give most of our patients above 80 melatonin at bedtime, because as you age, your body secretes less melatonin. Melatonin is your natural hormone that helps you fall asleep at night. Most people above 80 do not have enough, same as not having enough estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. They don't have enough melatonin. So for everyone in hospital, we give them a melatonin supplement at night. Not everyone, but everyone's struggling with sleep. We give them melatonin at night. It helps them sleep better. If you come to me, Tennille, and you ask me, will you benefit from melatonin? I don't know that. But if we do Dutch testing for you and we test your melatonin levels of how your body metabolizes it, how much of the metabolites are in your urine, I can say, no, your melatonin levels are good enough. You don't need to supplement from it. You'll be wasting your money. Or I can say, oh my goodness, your melatonin is so low. This is going to be your answer. Take a supplement at bedtime. This is how much you must take, and you're going to have a better quality sleep. Mm-hmm. Next thing we'll test for is someone that I saw this morning. I prescribed testosterone for her. Her testosterone levels were so low. A lot of people come to me for compounding hormones, and everyone asks for testosterone for libido. But if you have normal testosterone levels, giving you a testosterone cream won't help with your libido. The patient who I just saw, she had on her Dutch test very low testosterone. So I know it's going to help her libido. So I'll prescribe it to her. We look at cortisol. So we test saliva cortisol with the Dutch testing. So your cortisol is supposed to be very low at night, then go up in the morning to help you wake up, get up, your blood pressure must go up, everything must go up for you to get going. And then it must come down in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, and be at the lowest at bedtime so that you sleep easily. That's a normal cortisol response. It means you have healthy adrenal glands. For someone who's been secreting too much cortisol because they've been too stressed out in an unhealthy relationship, stressed at work, stressing themselves with maybe endurance training, their cortisol levels would be very, very high, or after years of being very high, they'll get adrenal fatigue where their levels will be just flatlined, what you were talking about. If we see that, for that person, I will say, you know what, how about we cut a little bit back on your endurance training? Maybe you want to consider a different job, a different boss, a different team. Something like that.
Can you just tell me, it's a snapshot in time. So the Dutch test, I believe it's done at different times on the day, or I don't know how many times you've done it, but it is a snapshot within this.
Yes, so if I do blood work for you, blood work will just show me a once-off level. With Dutch testing, we do it over 24 hours, so it kind of shows us a rhythm. We try to, for women, do it on day 21 of their cycle. So we do it for different things. We do it when people have maybe polycystic ovaries, or when they're trying to fall pregnant. So it's not to diagnose menopause, but if you know you're perimenopausal and you want to look at other things, that is very helpful.
Right. So do you, just out of curiosity, does cortisol change like one day to another day? Like on Mondays are always, you might say Mondays are always a pretty good day. My energies, I've just come off from a weekend, versus my Thursdays when I'm like, oh my goodness, I only have one more day to get all my work done. And do you see that or would you need to test those different sort of rhythms of our weeks? And can we actually get a really good reading of, or do we expect a good reading of those differences day to day, month to month? Maybe, you're an accountant and, year end happens to be in X March or whatever. And then you are just like, it's a high stress time. Of course my cortisol isn't. Right. And do you think about those things as well as you're doing these testings?
Yes. So your body, so you are right. That would be lovely if we can get real-time testing. That would be amazing. That would be just awesome. Well, we don't. Your body has an incredible ability to adapt. So your body, if you have more stress, your body can still handle that, and it can still handle that. It's only after a long period of time that you will get adrenal fatigue, or that you'll start secreting less cortisol. So if you just stress out today, you'll be fine. If you stress out tomorrow, you'll be fine. It's usually after years and years. So when people work with us and they go through this whole protocol of hormonal balance, and they want to test again, I never test sooner than 6 months. Because it's the same that if when you go to your doctor and you maybe test for your thyroid levels, or you're treating your diabetes and we do your HbA1c or your cholesterol, it does take time to change. Even if you've been eating, say for diabetes, for example, when we look at your HbA1c, that is our measure of tracking. We do it every 3 months at the quickest, because for you to eat very unhealthy and then perfectly healthy, it's only going to show through your HbA1c in 3 months. Or if you treat your thyroid, if your thyroid has been very underactive, you start taking supplements and you're on the correct dose tomorrow, and we repeat the level tomorrow, you won't have that negative feedback yet, because all your hormones are so related. Your levels are not going to look normal yet. It's only after 3 months we're going to see, and then only after maybe 3 more months, after 6 months, your TSH will now be normal. So it does take time, just because of that hormonal negative feedback. Everything goes to your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, your adrenal gland. So it does take time to normalize.
That's so helpful. I think that just to tie it back to some of our discussion that we had, and I'll start wrapping it up here, is like, it takes time to also change body composition.
Yes.
And so I think what you're pointing to is, if there are challenges that you're experiencing in perimenopause to your body composition, things aren't going to happen right away, especially if you're doing a lasting change, because we're talking about changing the whole system. And Dr. Nikki K talks about like a hormone symphony, and the Odyssey, and it's a beautiful way of journey, because your body is recalibrating, and it's not going to happen. And so that pound a week that we want so desperately may not fall off because it's not going to happen in a week to recalibrate those hormones and that story that you're having. That's so brilliant. Oh my goodness.
So for our weight loss clients, as well as our longevity clients, I do a body composition analysis. So to step back, I have a wellness clinic because I'm so passionate about lifestyle medicine. Unfortunately, our government medicine is set up in a way that we're really focused on disease treatment rather than disease prevention.
Yeah.
But I'm passionate about longevity, disease prevention. And that's the same thing that we're talking about, adrenal fatigue. In hospital, we would do a 24 urine cortisol, not just a urine sample. If we suspect someone has adrenal insufficiency, we'll collect urine for 24 hours and look at the urine cortisol over 24 hours. But then in medicine, we only maybe treat Cushing's syndrome. We only treat this spectrums at the end, that 5% of people who maybe have cancer, who has Cushing's syndrome. But then there is a whole Addison's disease. But then there's a whole spectrum of people in between who really fall through the cracks, people who know they don't feel good. When they do their blood work, their doctor will say, your blood work is normal, but you can feel there's something off, right? And that's what I'm really passionate about. And that's why I opened this lifestyle medicine clinic, is to really help those people who want to take their health in their own hands, to journey with them through this. So people come to me for weight loss. We have a big weight loss clinic. For them, I do body composition analysis, where we look at how much fat, how much muscle. And many of them like to come every week, because you might not lose weight on your scale at home, but when we do it, we can see you lost a pound of fat and you gained a pound of muscle.
Right.
So for those people, it's very rewarding to do that weekly body composition. I have a different group of people who sees me for longevity. So for those people, I also do a body composition, because that is your biggest thing. After menopause, you're going to lose 1 or 2% of muscle mass every year. And that is quite devastating, because if you think where you want yourself at 80, 90 years old, you want to go to the beach with your grandkids, you want to be able to play ball, you want to be able to sit on the beach and stand up again. But you won't be able to do that if your thigh muscles are not strong enough. And especially for women, men are usually better off, but women usually, the way we've been socialized, we don't want to eat too much because we want to look skinny. And that means that many women are slightly malnourished their whole life, even though they look healthy. But then because their muscle mass, they're skinny fat, what they call them. When you do a body composition, you might look good on the outside, but you might not have a good muscle mass. Then as your estrogen levels drop and you lose some muscle every year, you would then be that person at increased risk of getting a hip fracture, so of having a much slower metabolism, because it's your muscle mass that really drives your metabolism. Yes, so I'm very passionate about that body composition, to see how much muscle do you have and to work on that. And that's where we get back to nutrition. You might need to do strength training. You might need to increase your protein intake.
Wow, so brilliant. I know you have mentioned, I'm going to ask a quick question here. So you have mentioned that you have, and we'll make sure that there's a button, everybody. So go on to the page and definitely download that Menopause 101 free, awesome guide for you, so you can delve into this deeper and get a little bit more of this incredible conversation and the guidance from Dr. Daniela Steyn. I also want to just point out, you have 2 courses that are online for everyone, because this is where it really takes you through, and you step by step give you both. I know you have the audio, and so you can listen to it in your car, and then you have, you know, the worksheets, or the work that they get to do, so you can go and really plug in and actually do this if you're not in Ontario. For
yes,
so those in Canada, if say somebody were really interested in working with you, I don't know if we're somebody from BC, can they come in and utilize your services?
Yeah. So I have a lot of free resources on my website. It's www.wellnessmdhealth.com.
Yeah.
On there, you can get a lot of things. We have a very long waiting list at our clinic. I've been virtual only up to last year. And then since I've opened the clinic less than a year ago, we've grown from only me till 14 providers now. We have a very, very big demand for what we do and a long waiting list. But my heart is really not to help only the few people who can come to the clinic. My heart is to help everyone. And that's really why I wrote the book. That's why I have the podcast, why I have the YouTube channel. All these resources are free. So my goal is to everything that I provide one-on-one in the clinic, or that our team, the other doctors, health coaches, nutritionists, pharmacists, we have everyone. We even have a marriage counselor. My goal is to provide everything that we do for free for everyone, so everyone can access it. So a lot of it is on our website. There's a lot on my YouTube channel, a podcast that you can listen to. That's really been the heart of my book as well. This is my book, Thrive Through Menopause. You know what? It became an international bestseller so fast, and it's just because there's such a big need for people. People really want to know, what are the things they can do? Which herbs have science and evidence behind it? What are the lifestyle things that they can do? This you can get on Amazon. So seeing me, unfortunately, at this point, I'm only registered to provide care in Ontario. Perfect. So there has been people from everywhere, from the States, from other provinces, who has come here. Even throughout Ontario, people will sleep in a hotel the night before. They'll come to our clinic. Our first intake is usually 2 hours. And then all my follow-up is can be virtual if you're far away. So we have been helping people throughout the world, actually. My focus is really Ontario. My focus, you can still email the clinic. Our email is info@wellnessmdhealth.com. And then wherever people are, we have a great team who can tell you, maybe Dr. Stein is not available, but you can access Dr. Aviva Ram, Dr. Mark Hyman, people who do similar work, Parsley Health in the US. And our goal is to expand throughout Canada. We will, within the near future, expand to more provinces. But I really like to see people in person for that first visit, even if they're from out of province, out of country. I really want to do a full physical exam, head to bottom. So, we do everything. We look at bone density, EKG, everything, so that we want to test intensely, so that I know that I'm not guessing, that I know that I'm treating you, that I can guarantee success. I would rather work with fewer clients and guarantee 100% success for everyone that I work with. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we're at.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's good to know, because I know a lot of people will be asking, so I might as well, get that out there. All right, I have 3 questions that I'm asking.
Last thing.
Oh, yeah.
You can look at the website ifm.org, Institute of Functional Medicine.org, for a functional medicine provider close to you.
Perfect. That's actually, and then we'll make sure that is on your page as well.
And something else, menopause.org. Or it used to be the North American Menopause Society. Now it's just Menopause Society. There you can get a menopause provider if you want hormone replacement therapy and your doctor is not really clued up about hormone replacement. You can look at on menopausesociety.org for a local provider.
That's perfect. Yeah, absolutely. There are good resources. We'll make sure that they're all linked. Okay, I have 3 questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. These are the rapid fire, and let's just get them done. So first thing, what are you thankful for right now?
Well, I'm thankful for my family. I thank God every day for my husband and 3 kids. I'm grateful for the privilege to be a mom and for an amazing supportive husband.
Oh, yay. Yay for choosing well, hey? Amen.
It's me who chose well. It's God who blessed me with him. Because if I think about the things we met in our first year in university, started dating second year, you know, I didn't choose what I know now. I did not choose this. It's just, I'm very grateful.
Oh, isn't that funny? Yeah, there was the being. There's something.
I didn't know
whatever you want to call it. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. What advice do you wish you had learned 10 years earlier?
I would have loved to go to a coach. Yes, to get a coach or a mentor, therapist, counselor, to get someone to be your cheerleader through this journey. At our wellness clinic, everyone who signs up with us get assigned a health coach. I believe that's a game changer, and that's what you are doing through sports. It's coaching. You know, it's such a game changer to have someone who's your cheerleader, someone who's got your back.
Yeah, it's such a rewarding career. I absolutely love it. What is a quote or a saying that you live by, or that you love to just keep coming back to?
There are many different ones. I think Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt is a very big one, where he says that it's not the critic who counts. It's the man in the arena who's staring greatly. And even if you fall short time and again, you'll know that you might know the triumphs of winning. You know, the triumphs for me, it was the biggest thing to be able to open this beautiful clinic, to have my book become a bestseller, to be able to compete at Triathlon World Championships. But then even if you fall short time and again, and I fall short so many times in a million other things, at least you had that, you're in the arena. You're not a critic in the stand. And it really helps me to ignore any critics in the stand. When people comment or say things, I always think, you know, are you in the arena or are you just a critic in the stands? And
it's so perfect. It is, because that is sport, isn't it? It's like, let's get moving. Let's do it. Find the challenge. Maybe you'll fail, but you can get back up, and it is about getting back up. So I cannot thank you enough for this incredible amount of information and passion, and for what you do and what you're bringing, not just to those in Ontario, thank goodness, but to those worldwide. And yeah, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you for your time, Teal. I appreciate it. And all the best for our audience. I appreciate your time this hour that you invested. May you get something from this talk that you can implement right away that will really take your health to the next level.